Hello to my friends at Dyersburg Primary School. My name is Vanessa Kane. I'm the Children's Director here at MacIver's Grant Public Library in downtown Dyersburg, and I am so excited to bring you some books this week that go along with your theme, Growing Up Healthy, Staying Safe. There's so many different ways that we can stay safe, aren't there? One of the things we're going to talk about today is when to call 911. I know you've talked about this at school, I'm sure, and you've talked about this with your family. 911, when you call them, that's an emergency line. They say, oh my goodness, somebody's in trouble, let's go see if we can help them. And so we need to make sure that we call 911 only when it's a real emergency, because we don't want to tie up the line and somebody else might be having a real emergency. This book is called Impatient Pamela Calls 911. It's written by Mary Koski and illustrated by Dan Brown. And it was presented to the library from the City of Dyersburg's Emergency Operations Center. Isn't that wonderful that they gave us this wonderful book that tells us when to call 911 so they can help us? There's a front of the book that says, Impatient Pamela Calls 911. This book was published by Trellis Publishing. And here we go. Pamela was very impatient. She always wanted to learn new things right now. Look at her, she's tapping her foot. Have you ever had a friend like that who's so impatient they want everything right now? One day she and Martin played in a pile of leaves. They had a wonderful time flinging leaves high up in the air. Look at them playing in those leaves. I like to do that. Do you like to do that? That night, Pamela's hair was full of little tiny tree branches and leaves. Mama, will you teach me how to put my hair in a ponytail so it doesn't get so tangled? Pamela asked. I suppose you're old enough to do that. I'll show you tomorrow. Look at Pamela's hair. That's crazy hair. Look how big it is with all the stuff sticking out of it. May I do it now, Mama, please? Pamela asked. Tomorrow is soon enough, Pamela. Off to sleep now. Tomorrow. I always have to wait till tomorrow, Pamela said sleepily as her cat, Meow Man, curled up at her feet. She dreamt of leaves and branches and climbing trees and tangle-free hair. Oh, she doesn't want to wait. Has to wait till the whole next day, doesn't she? The next morning, Pamela's mother taught her how to comb her hair up, how to hold all of her hair in one clump and with one hand, and how to put on the hairband. Pamela was thrilled. She had a ponytail. That night, her mother said, I think it's time you learned your address. May I do it now, Mama? Pamela begged, already knowing that she lived on Rainbow Drive. No, we'll start in the morning. Mama's trying to teach her to be patient, isn't she? She'll tell her what they're going to do, and then she has to wait till the next day. She's learning a lesson, isn't she? With Meow Man at her feet, Pamela dreamt about addresses that rhymed with rainbow, like Stain Row and Plain Black Crow and Fainting Arrow. That's a funny dream, isn't it? The next morning, her mother said their address aloud over and over again. By lunchtime, Pamela could remember every word. 1405 Rainbow Drive. So we need to know the number of our house. 1405, that's the number of her house. Rainbow Drive is her street. We need to know our street. So I bet you that you've already done this a little bit with your family, but I think that's something you can learn and practice, isn't it? You can say what your house number is, 1405, and what street you live on, Rainbow Drive. And then if you ever have an emergency, you can say right away exactly where you are and they can come find you. Pamela went to play with Martin. They played in a pile of leaves, they climbed trees in Martin's backyard, and they had snacks on Martin's back steps. Every now and then, Pamela would remember her address. Look at her in that tree. I see Martin is hanging from the tree too, isn't he? Pamela told Martin her address. Martin knew his own telephone number. There's Martin. 555-3305, he said. That's his number. You have to learn your telephone number too, don't you? Do you remember your mom and dad's telephone numbers? Well, Pamela, her mother asked her that evening, can you remember your address? Pamela said her address loudly. Her mother kissed Pamela's cheek. That's my girl, she said proudly. And there's her mama giving her a kiss for remembering her address, such an important thing to do. Pamela wanted to learn how to use the telephone. Martin knows his own telephone number. Please, may I, she pleaded. Okay, Pamela, I'll teach you tomorrow. Promise, said Pamela, hoping her mother wouldn't forget. Promise, said Pamela's mother. That night, Pamela dreamt of addresses and telephone numbers and calling Martin to invite him over to play. She's waiting again. She's learning. I think she's learning a little bit about patience, isn't she? May I use the telephone now, Mama? Pamela asked the next morning. No, I need to finish a few chores first. Pamela waited impatiently. She sat and stared at the telephone, tapping her fingers on all the buttons and pulling on the telephone cord. She waited and she waited and she twirled her ponytail around with her fingers and she counted to 10 in her mind. She doesn't know what to do while she waits. Can you reach the number keys? Pamela's mother finally asked. Yes, I can, said Pamela. First you pick up the receiver and listen for a dial tone. Then you press the numbers you want to call. How will I know Martin's number? Asked Pamela, a little worried. When you're older, you can read numbers from the telephone book. For now, here are some important numbers. May I call that one, Mama? 911, Pamela asked. No, you may only press 911 if you need help. You may call Martin, though. So Pamela called Martin, and they had a good talk. And so there is Pamela's mama and the phone. She's telling her how to listen. This is an old phone that we used to have that's a landline phone. You might still have one at your house. It sits in one room, and you pick it up and listen to it. It's not the one that we carry around with us, the cell phones. And right here, Mama's got the blackboard, and it says 911 for emergencies, and it has Grammy's number and Martin's number written on it so that Pamela could dial those numbers without memorizing them. That night, with Meow Man at her feet, Pamela dreamt of telephone books and chalkboards and numbers and flashing buttons. The next morning, Pamela saw a cat in a tree. She ran in the house. Mama, there's a cat in the tree next door. May I call 911 now, Mama? Do you think she should call 911 if there's a cat in the tree? No, said Pamela's mother. The cat will jump down all by itself. It doesn't need help. So if you find a cat in the tree, don't call 911. That's not what they do. Pamela frowned. Then she saw her neighbor Jessica trying to push a broken bicycle. Mama, Mama, Pamela called. Jessica's bicycle is broken. May I call 911? May I do it now, Mama? What do you think? Should you call 911 if a bicycle's broken? You might need some help. What do you think? No, you may only call 911 when a person needs help. Jessica's bicycle doesn't need 911. Pamela was disappointed. She was impatient to call 911. Martin came over and he and Pamela had sandwiches at the picnic table. Suddenly, Martin choked on a bite of his sandwich and he couldn't make any noise. Do you think that's an emergency? If you choke on something or a friend of yours chokes on something and you can't make a noise, that means you're not getting any air. Pamela ran to her mother. Mama, something's wrong with Martin. Pamela's mother rushed to Martin and patted his back, but he still could not breathe very well. She did the Heimlich squeeze, which helps people who are choking, but it wasn't working on Martin. What can I do, Mama? Cried Pamela. Call 911, her mother instructed, and stay calm. Pamela hurried to the telephone. She pressed 911 very carefully. A woman's voice answered the phone. 911, do you have an emergency? I do, answered Pamela as bravely as she could. My friend is choking and my mother's trying to help him, but he can't breathe. Do you know the address? Yes, 1405 Rainbow Drive. Help is on the way, but don't hang up the phone. So there is Pamela's mama trying to help Martin. And there's Pamela. Look at her running. She's running so fast to help her friend. And she's staying calm on the phone and she's talking to the operator. She remembered very important things to tell her. Everything that was happening, who was helping, where she was. And she stayed on the phone just like the operator asked her to. Soon a truck with flashing lights arrived and the helpers got Martin to breathe again. They took Martin to the hospital to make sure he was okay. He got the help he needed, didn't he? Pamela's a good friend. When Martin came home, Pamela got to bring him some ice cream. That night, when her father put Pamela to bed, he said, "It's a good thing you learned how to dial 911. I'm glad I knew how, Daddy." "So am I, Pamela. You did a brave thing." He kissed her cheek and tucked her in. Pamela dreamt of flashing lights and ice cream and dialing 911. Meow Man purred at her feet. So this book tells you a little bit about when to call 911 and when not to call 911. And I like this book, and I love that the people here in Dyersburg that help us when we have emergencies are the ones that gave it to the library. I think that's a wonderful thing. So I want you to try to be safe this week. I want you to think about growing up healthy and staying safe. And all the different ways that you can do that, I want you to be kind to your friends and nice to your teachers, and have a wonderful week. And we'll see you soon, okay? Bye-bye.